Hello fellas. Sorry it's been a while. I finished the last video and I didn't have anything planned immediately after it, but if I had known that video would have gotten as big as it did, I would have put in something out earlier, but it's whatever. Anyway, this end screen is the first end screen I've made that I'm trying to hold up to a high standard. I usually just put the level's title and some fancy font down and call it a day, but this time I wanted to do a little bit more because I was doing a little bit more for everything in this. I've done art in end screens before, but it's never been any close to how not terrible this is. And while I wasn't really planning to do any end screen at all for this level, one night while I was going to bed, I just had so many ideas pop up in my head for this, and I just couldn't stop coming up with ideas. So the next morning, or next day after work, I came home, I started working on it as soon as possible. This level is all about my passion for a specific genre of music, so I wanted the end screen to be a good final celebration of those feelings, and with half the visual references and the level already being to my favorite artist, Knock 2, I figured that'd be the best place to start. So I got some reference images from the YouTube recordings of some of their sets, and I just started working on putting what I had in my head into the level. After I got the general layout worked out, I started with the crowd first, as I figured it'd be an easier starting point. And even though I already had the finished product in my head, I really didn't know how to translate a lot of that into the game. So starting with this part that I knew I could translate most accurately was probably the right move. Once the crowd was finished, I had to figure out how and what exactly I was going to do for the stage. This was going to be a little bit more complicated, but I really didn't care too much because I was just having so much fun making this at the time. One of the biggest ideas that I wanted to implement was I wanted the text for my name and the level's name to be physical in the level, in the art, and not just some floating text on top. First, I just made my name in a custom font. I knew I wanted to put the text on like a screen that would be in the art piece, and I knew it early on, so I was confident that I wouldn't waste my time or anything. So I tried to just make this and make it not have too many flaws and look good doing it. I flip-flopped between a couple ideas I had, but I ended up making the text look like it was lights on a stage. I had a couple of good reasons for this. It looked good, looked convincing, and I already made some block designs that looked like an array of LEDs earlier in the level, so it wasn't too time-consuming to repurpose that. It still took a while, but it wasn't near as much as the extremes I had envisioned. Working on this text ended up just kind of being really tedious to work on. It was just so much of repeating the same small steps over and over again, so it was a bit of a slew to get through. I think it ends up looking good at the end, however. make this part of the video entertaining has been really hard. There's just so much of just working on the same like 7 letters, and there's just not much to talk about. This was boring when I was doing it, and it's going to be boring watching it. I added this little guy doing this victory pose because I thought it'd be a good way to end the level. And this level's going to be an insane demon, so I'll probably be this little guy when I end up verifying it. I tried to make it obvious, but this is supposed to be a silhouette of Not 2 on the stage, since a lot of this level is inspired by their stuff. I don't know if I did that great of a job since it's my first real time doing any people in a Geometry Dash level, but it's whatever. This ended up being the most time-consuming part of what I had done so far. Getting the text in there convincingly and then also making sure it looks good and in place was definitely a new challenge for me. And a lot of this level has been just a bunch of new challenges for me, because even though I've been making levels for over a decade, it wasn't until recently, during and after I was working on Unstoppable, that I felt that I'm any good at it. After that, I added some lighting that I tried to make realistic in the scene, just some simple soft lighting, and I wanted to add fog as well with some visible light rays, but I can only write so much of a script for just one piece of art, so I decided I'd let the final product be a surprise for when the level gets finished. Anyway, upcoming is the current endscreen. It's not finished, and it won't be finished until I deem it so when the level is released later this year. And that's all. Thanks for watching, fellas.